Hi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I just
Oh my gosh.
your name.
How are you doing?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm hanging. Well, thank you for arranging this.
Oh, no problem. We're gonna figure this out. I printed out like all this crap earlier today, so we're gonna figure this out.
I don't know how to this.
And I was gonna give people like another 10 minutes or so, because I know, like, I don't know, like if people had to like get an account. I just use my Gmail to get in, and I don't know if anybody knew that when they were clicking the link. So I'm gonna give them a couple minutes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I was just making sure.
Let me know if any girls had a try to.
All right, Haley's trying to get in. She asked me what the passcode was. And if anyone else asked, the passcode is literally passcode. I forgot to mention that. All right, I think this is everybody. Were we waiting on anybody else?
I would say no.
All right. And so whoever Jessica Meadows is, I don't even think that she's a part of the class anymore because she literally hasn't done any of the homework. And I think that's the only person that I haven't heard of from at all. So if we have so I know Shelby says she's working, Molly's working. Oh, it's Tyler. We're missing Tyler. Oh, he said he was.
I haven't heard from him since the last time I talked to him.
Because he said he had to like put his kids down around this time. So he was like trying to make it. So I don't know if we just start and catch him up when we get him when he gets in, or you want to give him a couple minutes.
We can start now. It's not, I mean, it's not gonna be that hard to catch him up. So
All
I
right.
think we'll be okay.
So I just want to start by like going over what I think we're supposed to be doing. And then like when I'm done, like then you guys can like ask questions or tell me if I'm wrong. So this is what I think we're supposed to be doing. I got all my crap printed out. So there was confusion about like the rubric and stuff like that. So I also forgot that we're supposed to be recording. Oh, no, it's recording. So we're recording, everybody, just in case. So you all know that. So on the proposal rubric, like I literally like printed the thing out. And so this rubric thingy, if you guys can see, and there is how it says topic and rationale, goals and objectives, practical considerations, group format, and details, procedures, activities, blah, blah, blah. And so what I took this to mean is that there's basically like two sections. The easiest way I can think of is to think of it in two different sections. The first section was our kind of like our general essay. So this is going to be our topic, our goals, our practical considerations, a little bit about our group format. And then it's going to go into our walkthrough, which is details, procedures, and activities. And so for this first part where it was topics, goals, objectives, practical considerations, we were supposed to use the 21 proposal questions, like the first 21 questions that we all had. And so this was our first shared document as a group, was these 21 questions. And essentially what answering these questions did was we wrote our first part. Like that was our first part of the essay, was just tying in all these different questions. And if you noticed in the outline, which is also shared to everybody, I went through the proposal questions and I put each relevant question for each section. So for topic and rationale, the relevant proposal questions for this section were numbers 4, 7, and 21. And for goals and objectives, the relevant question was 6. And practical considerations, that was like a lot of the questions. It was like question 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 11, 12, 13. So the people that worked on the proposal questions, we did a huge chunk right there. So that really helped when doing like the essay portion, the first part. So that, like, I read through this before I started, like when I signed in, and it looks like freaking amazing. So thank you to everybody that helped with the proposal questions, because it really, really helped get this first part done. And so now what we're focusing on is this second part, which is like very confusing. And so this second part, we got the 5 stages, which I wrote down like on a notebook. So the first stage is forming, orientation. Stage 2 is storming, authority. Stage 3, norming, negotiation. Stage 4 is performing and functional. And then we have stage 5, that is adjourning and disintegration. And so my take on this is we do 5 sessions, and each session is going to correspond with each of these 5 things. So session 1 is what I signed up for, and that's my forming station. And so in the outline, I came up with a little like template for us all to like go by. And from what I gathered from the syllabus and the rubric was that in our detailed sessions that we're doing, we have our assigned group leader names. So it would be me, Samantha Russell. Our materials required is going to be in there. And that's just like, it's what it sounds like. Like we need chairs to sit in. Like if you have an activity where you're writing, you're going to need pencils. If you're doing like a whiteboard thing, you're going to need the whiteboard, the dryer, like just stuff like that. And because it's COVID, like we also got to do like the face masks, hand sanitizer, like a thermometer. So we know people don't have like high temperatures and fevers and stuff like that. And then after the materials required, you just give an overview of the opening of your session. Like for mine, since it's the orientation initial stage, I put, we're just going to go over our confidentiality guidelines, and we're going to have a first icebreaker activity just so we get to know each other in my session, and then just guidelines and rules. And that's pretty much just like confidentiality, don't share outside group, only one person talks at a time. And I put in social distancing just because it's the pandemic. And I let Kathy use my rules because I didn't see why like each like session had to have different rules. So if you guys like wanted to use my rules, like, and like add on to them, like whatever, I think all that's going to be the same for every session. So after guidelines and rules, there is what should be accomplished in this first session. And that's just a little blurb about what we're about to be doing. And then this part is the walkthrough of the session. So this part looks kind of like a script, and you put in how long how activities is going to be. So like we have to do like an hour and a half, somewhere between then. So for mine, I started with opening 10 to 15 minutes. And then I literally just described like everyone sits down and we're getting ready. We're working with high schoolers who are minors. So I'm going to get permission slips. So I'm just going to be like, thank you for giving me your permission slips. That's how we're starting with that. And then I go over the rules, and I'm really just writing out my dialogue is what I'm doing for this part. And like I put in allow space for questions. So it'd be group leader, whatever the heck I'm saying, like, and then allow space for questions, and then group leader again. All right. So now let's move on to the next part. And then for the next part of the outline, I put in my first icebreaker activity. And I just described what that, we're just going around and saying, hi, my name is, that kind of stuff. Then I detailed my second activity, which is everyone's going to go around the room again, but they're just going to tell me like what they hope to get from the group. Like, and then after that is the closing. And the closing is just, in our group discussion, we brought up talking about like people who have lost loved ones due to COVID. So that's where I got the idea to do like a moment of silence as the closing activity for everyone that we lost, as like to respectfully remember them. And so at the very end, it's closing, and I just put a little blurb that just describes what I did. And that's pretty much it for each session, like how each one runs through. And then after that, it's like the very, very last part, which we haven't worked on yet. And I was just going to wait till after like we talk to this to discuss it, but it is the conclusion part, which goes over evaluation methods. And after all of that, we cover absolutely everything that's in the syllabus. We cover everything that's in the rubric. And so I got my outline idea from, I actually went online and I Googled like our prompt, and I found other people who had done it, and I like read their essay. And that's literally how I came up with the outline, was from reading other people's essays and putting it together. And so that's pretty much it. So that is what I think we're going to be doing. So our sessions that we're writing, like our session walkthroughs we're writing, we're going to use these later on for our next big project, which is when we actually act these out. And so when we're acting these out, since we did all this right now, literally when we do, all we have to do is just hold our paper and just read everything we did while we're recording it. And that's it. Like, go questions?
So then from what Samantha said, and then what we talked about earlier, so the evaluation plan, I think that's the portion in the conclusion that we should have Shelby do, only because Shelby answered question 20. And in that question, I don't know if you guys can see it, but her answer talked about the evaluation plan that she wants to kind of go over in her session. So I think she's going to be the one that should answer the conclusion along with stage 5, if that makes sense. So we don't have to worry about that portion because she's already going to cover that.
That sounds good to me.
And then there was one other thing that you said. Oh, now I forgot.
Like, so like things that like when I was reading through it, things that I noticed was like a big one. What are we going to name the group? So like before we leave today, we got to come up with at least a name. And how many like people, like what's our maximum students we're going to let in the group? Because I didn't read that in our outline. So that's like pretty much 2 things.
Yeah, so the members, I think we in the questions talked about it being, because it's a small group, just doing 10 members and then however many leaders in that stage, just because it's a small group. So, I mean, I know that sounds crazy for high schoolers, but
So how many do we say max?
10
Okay.
plus 2, 10. Okay, so 10 members, and then we put down 1 leader, but because we have 5 stages and there's 8 of us, there's going to be 3 stages that have 2 of us. So it'll be 11 of us plus the stages that needed an extra person.
Hi, Shelby. You're freezing. Okay, we're back. So I just ran through the whole thing. So Kathy asked if we can see her. I can't see you. Can you hear us, Kathy? Is your mic turned on? What? Okay, so basically for the 5 stages, like everyone signed up for it, and whoever Jessica is, like, she's just not a part of it, I guess. And I don't really know what else to talk about. Does like everyone understand what's going on? Or, like,
I have a
I know
little, go ahead.
I know Molly has no idea. She has no idea what we're doing.
I said, did what I say made sense to you guys?
Yes. So basically you broke it down in two portions. That's kind of how I was looking at it. Like do the rubric part and then do the role playing part as a separate. And that's kind of what me and Haley were talking about over the past couple of days.
Yeah, so that's the easiest way I could think of to describe it, because this whole entire thing has really felt like a riddle. And like the way, like when I had my aha moment was when I started thinking about it in two different spots. Like, so we like wrote our essay and the walkthrough is for which part of the rubric was that? So. Yeah, so that 40 pointer, like the biggest part of like our paper is going to be our walkthroughs, like the detail procedures and activities. Like, so that's like all of our 5 sessions in detail. And I got like the whole like idea for the skit thing just from the examples I found online.
So for our final project, we're acting this out, right?
Correct. And then there's another project after that again, where we write about what our group roles were. And I think there was something else I can't really remember. But this like feeds into like, so the more work we put into what we're doing now, the easier the rest of the semester is going to be. It's basically that.
Sounds fair. So looks like now for me and Molly, for me, our portion, I should just do the role playing for storming, and then we're pretty much done our portion.
Right. Yeah. So like,
All right, no problem.
so then there was like other people who were concerned about like the flow of the sessions. So I thought maybe we should talk about some of that too. And like, so for my session, it just starts with like the introduction, it's the orientation, like we're just going over the rules. I'm collecting their permission slips, like stuff like that. And then, so what was the second stage gonna be? Ben?
Oh, for me.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I thought you were talking about the whole thing in general. So hold on. Let me actually I can't pull it up at the same time. So you're talking as far as role playing goes, how am I gonna section it off?
Well, like what your activities were, because we wanted to make sure everything could flow and like the next person after you, like we just make sure they knew what was going on, because there was like concerns about like later sessions not really kind of linking up with previous sections. So that's why I wanted to talk about. It's like, what kind of like activity were you like thinking about doing?
Like I remember we did a guilt group like for a homework assignment like a month ago, and they just went around the room and talked about something that they felt guilty about. Then the leader, put in, his 2 cents, his skills and all that, allowed the person to reflect. And then it went around the room to all the different members, and they put in their 2 cents of the whole thing and just kind of make a group based off that.
So it was like a like guilt based off the pandemic. Like, so
No, I was just going to be in general. So this has to be about the pandemic.
yeah.
My
Yes.
God. All right. Sorry.
So our whole group idea is we're doing a pandemic related group that is focused towards high schoolers. And we like chose to do high schoolers because we thought it'd be kind of cool because, when this all started, like they all got kicked out. This is the first generation that's had to deal with something like that. So like every session is going to be based off of us talking to the high school kids about their pandemic related things.
All right. So obviously people go to counseling because they have issues, all different types.
The
This is
activity
basically,
have to be storming related. And I found a different, like I found like this handbook this morning. I was supposed to be working, but I'm like playing with all this stuff like on so I put this link in one of the emails I sent. It's an activity handbook and it has each like different kind. So it has forming, storming, norming, like all that kind of stuff. It tells you different activities for it. So I'm gonna find one for storming.
yeah, my bad. I thought each group could be different. I'm sorry.
No, that's like, I'm glad like we got that aha moment. That's what I was hoping for.
And like I researched storming, and I got a lot of mixed facts about it. Part of what storming is like there's conflict within the group and like how people handle it, and personalities clash, and it becomes a problem. The leader's got to diffuse the situation. I saw that. Then storming was about how you use certain techniques for something people are struggling with within the group and how people can collaborate and help one another. So storming is actually two-sided. So, and I did not know we were doing this off the pandemic. That's why I picked guilt.
Yeah, so like when we were talking in the discussion, like it's all in there, like the proposal questions, all that stuff. So this is a storming activity the only storming activity that's actually in here. So I am going to read it out loud and tell me if you love it or if you hate it. So it is called Who Am I? And for this activity, you would write the names of people or characters on individual pieces of paper. The names may be of real or fictional characters, living or dead. Keep the name secret before the activity. Tape one paper on the back of each participant, either in pairs or allowing participants to mingle freely. Encourage them to ask each other questions to try to figure out, who am I? Youth can only ask yes or no questions, such as, am I a real person? Am I a man or a woman? Am I on television? Blah, 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 blah. And it says that this is storming because it's showing how differing opinions and there may be disagreements. And so this is like how, so say example, someone has Britney Spears on their back, right? And someone who's doesn't know who Britney Spears is, and they think they're talking about Christina Aguilera. And so they just start fighting with each other over this activity. And then they work together to be, no, it's actually Britney Spears because they or whatever the heck. But so this is, I don't know how you would act that out like online, like when we're doing this later, but that is the only storming activity that I could find in this handbook. Love it, hate it.
My question is, how would we relate that to COVID-19?
So how would we relate that to COVID-19? I don't know, but that's storming with that idea that I have. So
the way that I think about the storming stage for you, Ben, I guess, so Samantha basically is just her session is just starting off by everybody getting to know one another. So it's not really based on COVID because it's the beginning session. So off the bat, she's not going to jump at them and say, okay, let's talk about how COVID has affected you. She's going to try and work her way into that. So stage 2, I think, is you just trying to make the group more comfortable with one another. You're going to try and build that trust, basically. And then Kathy is going to then incorporate and then bring in like a topic. So Kathy can talk about grief and how that has affected them in COVID. And then she can talk about education and how their education has been affected. And then after Kathy does that, then that's where Jose and I come in and we talk about like trying to find a solution for that. Like, okay, so you lost a year of school and had to do it online. How can we help you get your grades back up? Like, what about one-on-one, tutoring or like certain things. And then Shelby and Tyler will come in after that and they'll kind of put it all together and then come up with an evaluation plan where they will say, okay, this is what your problem was. This is our solution for you. And here's how we're going to follow up with that in 2 weeks from now. Does that make sense?
Yes, that's it. That is exactly, yes.
So basically for my section, I've noticed that I have to know all you guys are doing. Like I need to know all of your activities. I need to know everything that you guys have planned because I have to base what I'm doing off of what you guys are doing so that it all is clear and concise. So what I'm going to need from people, especially, as soon as they possibly can, is an idea. Guys, I'm sorry, my kids are so bad.
Oh, you're fine.
I'm on a Zoom, be quiet. So what I'm going to need from you guys is to know all your activities so that way I can compile the information. Because say you guys, have touched on grief. Like I know Samantha's touching on grief in her initial stage. Very briefly, she's going to touch on people who've lost somebody. And me and her have kind of talked about an activity that she might do to close out her session so that you guys can go into your next session. But so I can then, when we're talking about grief in the end of it, I can give people information on where to go to get help about grief counseling personally, or what the 5 stages of grief are and what feelings are normal and what feelings are not normal. And then say, you guys had an activity that was, just brainstorming other topics that they wanted to go over in the group, not necessarily what you guys came up with, but maybe what they want to discuss and talk about. And then my job in the end is to say, okay, well, what did not get touched that you guys wanted to talk about? So that way I can find these resources and I can follow up with you and give you these resources.
Were you able to get into our shared document for the outline, Shelby?
I did, and I started it. I literally just walked in from work when I got on here. So I kind of briefly touched on it at work. But
Yeah, that's fine.
mine and like some of the stuff like that's on Samantha's has to be on all of ours. Like pretty much all our materials have to be the same, generally speaking. Chairs, hand sanitizer, mask. The rules have to stay the same. The confidentiality has to stay the same. So like all of that is we've already came up with that in the proposal, the initial proposal that we started all work on in the joint Google Doc. So after that, it's really just about us all taking all our thoughts together, especially for, like I said, my section, because like Haley, you can't work on your section if Samantha's not really done with hers because you don't know where to pick up where she left off.
Right.
Yeah, and that was one thing that Samantha and I had talked about because I can't start until Kathy before me goes, and then Kathy can't follow up with her, session until Ben and Molly complete theirs. So the one thing that I think would be easier for Shelby and I to complete our sessions is if Ben touches on one topic and then Kathy touches on another. So Ben can talk about how their education has been affected. And then Kathy can talk about grief. And then I will tie everything together. And then that's when Shelby will begin to make, referrals basically and say, okay, from what I've heard so far in all of these sessions, this is what I want you to do. And I want you to go and, try out this resource for something better or things like that. But we want to talk about grief. And I know that's one thing that everybody in here wanted to touch base on, but I have not yet to find anybody who's touched on that. So either Ben or Kathy, I think that's one thing that one of you has to decide on who wants to touch on that. So that being said, Ben, if you were to be the one that was going to touch on grief, your assignment could go around and, basically like a check-in and say, okay, what happened? How did it affect you? And then you go from there. And then that's when Kathy will follow that up. And then after Kathy's done that, I'll kind of tie it all together. So what Shelby's kind of trying to say is that she cannot begin to start her stage 5 until she knows that everybody else and what we plan to do, because she can't give a referral to somebody to an addiction center if we're talking about grief and, the mental health side of it. So it wouldn't add up.
Right.
If that makes sense.
And another thing I can do, is like I can find, counselors for these specific schools. I mean, all that information is available online, and I can compile that so that people know who to contact from home if they do want to seek counseling through the school, because with minors, it's touchy because you have to have the parents, but school counseling is completely confidential. And the only thing that they would have to tell the parents is if the child, said something and threatening and, needed further help. Because you have, yes, River, because you have like a responsibility to report those type of things. But like I said, if we're talking about grief, then I can find the 5 stages of grief. I can give them that information. I can give them activities to take home and work on, just worksheets like me and Samantha had kind of bounced back and forth with. Like I had sent her one and we had talked about it. But if I don't, if I don't have topics, like you said, there's not much I can do on my project. I can do my initial, because obviously in everybody's initial, we have to introduce ourselves again. And in my initial so far, I have discussed it. Like when everybody introduces themselves to me, I'm asking them, well, what's been your favorite part about the group so far? Because I'm all the way at the end, I'm not going to make them do the same icebreaker over and over and over again. I want them to do something totally different because I need to know what's happened thus far from them and what they've got out of it, so that I can then base that on what I'm going to talk about for the rest of it. So that's why I kind of need your guys' topics, because we don't have actual students here to tell us as we're going right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like, were you here, Shelby, when we went over like the entire outline? Because there's one part at the very there's Kathy. Hi. Like
Hey, Kathy.
can you hear us? Can you hear us? I don't know if her mic's on yet.
Can we just note that my 3-year-old is crouching over my shoulder like he can help or something? Look at him just sitting here. He's either waiting for me to get him a snack or he's just listening.
He's helping us with our project. Shelby, there is like the very last part that we haven't like written yet was like the conclusion part of this is the very end of our outline where we're supposed to go over evaluation methods. And this is the only thing we haven't finished yet that isn't related to our session walkthroughs. And so it's at the very end, and we're supposed to describe any follow-up we're doing. So like those packets you're talking about with those information that like, so I think that might be helpful for like the follow-up session if you wanted to like look at that and see if you can come up with anything. I don't remember if you were here when we were discussing that part.
No, I don't think so because I logged on probably at like 7:15.
Okay. All right. So we had like went through the whole thing and we got all the way up to the conclusion. So
Well, Samantha, I don't mean to interrupt you, but Shelby, you actually answered question 20 of the proposal questions, and you actually put in there your evaluation plan that you wanted to do, which is why I kind of brought it up before you got in here that maybe that would be a better area for you to answer the conclusion because you already have that piece that you want to kind of go over, if that's okay with you.
I mean, yeah, that would be completely fine. I mean, honestly, I think we're all really confused, and that's probably why I hadn't answered it yet, because I didn't want to like answer it wrong and screw the rest of us over, because I wasn't like I was having a hard time following the outline. I mean, I was questions, but then when you have to put it in a paragraph, it's not as clear and concise as answering questions in bullet points. But I can definitely work on that. I think I might need that document shared with me again, but I can work on that. And if I need, you know what I mean? If I need your guys' help, I'll just text you or email you and ask you to look it over and see what you think.
yeah. Yeah, that works for me. Yeah, because I'm reading question 20 right now and you did like a good job. So it's pretty much like it's like already written. So it just is like going from bullet point to paragraph is pretty much what that is. Here's Kathy. Don't know if her mic's on. Anyways, so you're cool with that. Everyone has to have their topic, so Shelby can do hers. What else? Anything else?
No, that's it for me. Ben, did you still have things that you were confused on?
So you guys would like me to do my role playing skit on grief, correct?
Yeah, that'll work. Kathy, I was looking over Kathy's and her session was kind of like strengths and weaknesses. So she wasn't really talking about grief there. So her the strengths and weaknesses can tie into education, and then yours can be about grief.
All right, so I'll do a role playing skit from opening to close and do it totally about grief, how it's going to be from start to finish.
Yep.
And it's got to be based off COVID-19.
Right, for high school students.
Okay, high school students, COVID-19, grief, open to close. Got it.
An activity, and it's got to be at least an hour.
At least a what? I'm sorry.
The mock has to be at least an hour, but when you're writing it up, it has to look like it's at least an hour.
Gotcha.
Hey, Samantha, you should probably send Ben the closing activity from yours, because yours will help him transition into his. And then Ben, I have some other activities that I can just shoot you on an email or a text message, that I found online, just things that people use in counseling all the time. And then I have like the 5 stages of grief, from the National Board of Psychology and how they describe the 5 stages. So that would probably help you, at least get a clear view of what grief looks like. You know what I mean? So you know how to base your activities.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right. Anybody else to say? Any other questions anyone can think of? Jose, we haven't heard from you. Do you have any questions?
Is this due Sunday? Sunday, right? Or is that the essay part?
25th, I want to say.
Yeah, it's Sunday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the 25th.
Okay, just the essay or the whole thing?
The whole thing in our outline that share with everyone. So like after like all those spots are plugged in and everything, like I was just gonna run through it and like fix the formatting a bit, make sure the headers are good. We got to do a reference sheet, like a bibliography, and then I was gonna make it into a PDF so it can't like be changed anymore. And then I was gonna send everyone an email and be like, "Are you guys cool with this?" before I submit it.
Okay. Yeah,
So-
sounds cool.
Sorry.
My question for all of you
Has
is, do
anybody-
sorry.
Go ahead, Haley. You're good.
Do we think that we can get this done by Friday?
That was my hope too. So then we have the weekend to like go over grammar and just like I wanted to have it like turned in on Saturday is my goal to have it turned in by Friday. Would be good to have everything written up. Then we can all make sure like we can check each other's grammar and stuff like that. And I would so I think Friday's a great goal.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea too. And I have literally all day today and all day tomorrow to work on it. I'm off. I took off both days to work on it. So I planned a little bit ahead because my job's crazy. River, I'm not feeding you gummies right now. Leave me alone. But I think I'm sorry, you guys. I'm sure Kathy probably has children, but I don't know if any of you other guys are parents. But as soon as you get home from work, I'm telling you. No, but I have pretty much all my thoughts formulated. I just have to put them on paper. And then as far as the annotated bibliography goes, I think if everybody just does their part in that, you can copy and paste it, put it on the document, and get it over with. You know what I mean? So wherever I find my activities from or my information, do the annotated bibliography for those couple of sources I use. That way, all you have to do, copy and paste. And same thing for Haley and Ben and their groups. Just make sure you have it done that way, because that's going to take time if Samantha or Haley has to do that just them two by themselves and I'm at work and you know what I mean, it's not getting done, or me and Ben are both at work, so it's not getting done. It's not fair to them. So just kind of do it for your own part, and then she can, if she wants to format it, she can just copy and paste it. It'll take 2 seconds and it won't be as hard of work.
Love it.
Sounds good to me.
And the outline I did was on guilt, so I'm gonna have to go back and change that, correct, and fix that whole thing.
Yeah, so
No.
scroll back up into the out. Like I literally left like spots and stuff. So hold on, let me like doors. Sorry, I got a lot of papers in front of me. My session. All right, so after my session is closed, so Ben, like the part, it'll start with session 2, and it says storming authority stage on there. And then it says assign group leaders, and that's where you would put like Ben and Molly. And materials required, like Shelby was mentioning earlier, that's pretty much going to be the same unless you need additional materials for your activity. Like if you want them to cut like green construction trees for whatever reason, because COVID, then you would have to put like green construction paper in the materials with everything else, just as like an example. And like then follow through, like, so Kathy did a really good job on hers as well. So if you wanted to like look through hers for like a second example, that's like totally cool. And there's mine like right above it. So like basically, Ben, like all you got to do is just fill in the template part right there for session 2. And that's it.
Would you be able to take a picture of that and send it to me?
It's in the.
Hey Ben, I have it. I can email it to you. I'll forward it to him, Sam.
I
Like,
tried to share this document with you, Ben. Were you able to get into it?
guys, I'll be completely honest with you. Like, I'm still confused right now, and like,
Had you have
I
got it,
mean,
you made changes to it, so you were in the document.
yeah, like, so this is what I gather now. So we all do a separate skit for norming, storming, all that. And we all do a separate skit. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, because our 21 proposal questions, like the people who started doing that at the beginning, we did like a whole chunk of this stuff at the beginning. So that's why you're so confused right now, because your brain's trying to catch up with everything the group's already done. And so I guess I understand like that part, but basically all you got to do is come up with like your skit.
All right. So
Yeah,
do it.
Ben, when we talked earlier, and on the document where down at the bottom, you added your, like in bold, you put storming. You already finished the kind of like the outline that Samantha had created, but you just have to take what you wrote and put it underneath of hers into the spots that it fits. So like how you put your goals, you're gonna put that under what you want to accomplish within the group. That's all you have to do. Everything you did was right. You just have to change it from guilt to grief and then put it underneath of Samantha.
Okay. And then also I'm going to have to, put it in the role playing as well. Like everything she did, I have to do exactly what she did.
So it's like the walkthrough is the role play. So like I split up the format for our sessions like this. So it'll be session 2, storming authority stage. And then the next section is assign group leader. That would be Ben and Molly. Materials required would be like masks, like a thermometer, like chairs to sit in, like what you're like the materials you need to accomplish your activity. The opening is just like a little blurb about like how you're gonna open. Like, are you just gonna like ask people like about their last when Shelby was talking about like this worksheet that she sent me, like I haven't added that part in. I'll probably do that when I sign off with everybody. But like you can be like, how did you guys like feel about like that worksheet you did or something to like recap the last session for your opening, or I don't know. And then a description of activity per session. This section would be your activity. So you would describe what pandemic activity you're doing for high school kids for their group. And what should be accomplished in the second session is what Haley said. That's your goals right there, what you want to do. And the walkthrough is the skit, or the script, or however you want to say it. And closing is just another little blurb that says like, how did you close it? Like you just said like, thank you, see you next time. Go over everything like we went over in our session, and then just like marinate on it. We'll talk about it next week or whatever. And that's pretty much all that's it.
All right. So I do the outline like I already have, and then correct it and like make it to accustomed to grief, right?
Yeah, grief related to pandemic. Yeah.
Okay, do that. And then looks like you've already done the whole role playing thing, open to close. So basically mimic what you did, except make my own and make it into grief.
Yes.
All right. So change the outline, fix that, get that all in order. Then make my own role playing, doing exactly what you did. Just put my own taste into it and make it grief.
Yes.
All right. God bless you all. And I'm so sorry. This shit has been ridiculous. Like, I'll be honest, like I don't mind doing work, but this has been definitely a very tough thing to cope with, like for sure.
Can everybody hear me?
I think it's just been really confusing. Oh, yeah,
Yes,
we can hear you, Kathy.
Hi, everybody. So sorry. The way that I kind of did mine was I kind of went back and looked at some of our related work, like the videos and the role playing episodes. And that's where I kind of got mine kind of from. So I'm wondering if you would be able, Ben, to look up related videos to storming, and maybe it would give you some ideas. Just a thought.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, Ben, I'll send you the link that I found for storming, and maybe you can just go ahead and click on YouTube. You can click the transcript, and it'll tell you word for word what they're saying, so you can understand them. And not necessarily putting what they did word for word into our document, but making what they did turn into like a pandemic related thing
Yes.
And there you go. So you don't have to like really do much, just watching this video and taking what they say and putting it into our document.
I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, and I just ran through my chapter really quick in next book. Like I just ran through, the last page, and I was, just quickly reading over it and seeing what they said so that I could apply it. I mean, I didn't go in depth with it. I didn't do the assignments for it yet, of course, but because I'm focused on this right now, but I just ran through it really quick and I was like, okay, it gives you a better idea of, what you're doing, because I was pretty lost. You know what I mean? I mean, you can estimate. I think we were all lost in the beginning, and we kind of all have reached out to each other and bounced ideas off of each other, and that's how we've gotten this far. But yeah, like I was telling the girls earlier, it's tough when you're first of all confused, second of all have other things going on. We all work, we're all adults. I have kids, some others of us have children, and just life happening. But I think we can use that to apply that to this project, because we have life happening, so we can use that and help other children understand like what we're doing right now. We're on Zoom together. We could be all meeting in person in somebody's backyard on their patio, but we can't do that. So I think we can use what we're doing now and just apply that towards what we're doing for our project.
I agree.
Yep. So Ben, basically just take everything Shelby just said, and in your group, you're just going to try and bond the group together. Nothing more than that. You're just trying to get them to be comfortable with one another. Oh my gosh, my dogs. I'm so sorry, guys.
So has anybody else not heard from their group member, like their co-leader or anything? Has anybody else not heard from their
The only
person after trying to reach out?
The only person who hasn't spoke up at any point in this is I forgot her name, Jessica. Who is. Like, that's the only person who hasn't spoken up at all. Tyler sent me a text message while we were doing all this, and he said he got tied up with the kids and couldn't get on. So he said he's gonna like watch the recording later, because I'm recording this and I'm gonna try to post it in the discussion.
I'm on right now. I said that I'd be a little late getting on.
Oh, I didn't see you. Like
I didn't see
Tyler,
Tyler
I
talking.
haven't heard from you.
Tyler.
Shelby,
Did you get my email?
I think you're my partner. I'm not sure if I did get your email. I saw where you put your phone number on there. So if you want, I responded back with my phone number. So if it works for you, just go ahead and shoot me a text after this meeting. Go ahead and get a game plan and go ahead and knock out all the part, you know what I mean, that we have to get done, if that works for you.
Yeah, that works. And I already kind of have our outline like started, and I've put a place for you to do like everything I did. So like when I introduced myself, I like made a blank space that says Tyler, so you can put your own little twist on it. And same thing with the activity. After I do mine, I just left a blank space for you to do one for yourself. That way it's just completely split 50-50. We don't have to, you know what I mean? We don't have to worry about it. We can see who did what, and this is my activity, this was Tyler's activity. I thought it would just make it easier if I just sent that to you so you can fill in yours.
Great, that'll work perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No problem.
Shelby, Jose and I were actually almost done with our with completing stage 4. So it should be done by tonight, like no later by tomorrow, so that you guys can go ahead and get started on yours.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I do like my initial opening. I can do that part. River, can you please be quiet? It's just about actually making my activities, because I need to be able to say, okay, Ben touched on grief. Let's finish off with grief. Let's finish talking about what Ben talked about. Is there anything you guys didn't get off your chest? Let's do this activity so we can make sure everybody said what they had to say. And if anybody didn't get to share or wasn't comfortable at the time and now wants to share, we can do that right now via this activity.
Yep, that sounds good.
If I missed it earlier, did anyone talk about, and I can review the video, about the journal article, references that we have to do?
So there was Jose left a comment about that.
Okay,
Is he still here? I can't see
Yeah.
him here.
okay.
Wait. Yeah. What'd you say, Ella?
Kathy was asking about the academic journal reference, and I saw you left a comment.
Oh
in the
yeah.
document.
Yeah, so I'll just
We're
probably
all
go
frozen.
back to the wait, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
So I'll just go back to the what's it called, LRC,
Yeah, that one.
and I'll just look up a couple couple articles that show stats, showing whatever we talked about in our introduction,
And like,
to make it, to make it more believable.
yeah.
And yeah, I should do that by tomorrow probably.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Kathy?
I think we need 5.
5?
I couldn't find how many. Like, does anybody else know how many were? Because I can only see we needed at least one from like everything I read, but like I'm not really sure because I'm like trying to string together like 5 different things to figure out what the. Does anybody else have any idea how many journals we were supposed to have?
I think we're supposed to have one for each stage.
Where did it say one for each stage?
Yeah, I remember seeing one for each stage too. I'm not sure where I saw it, but I did.
It just seemed, I didn't see it say that, but it just seemed that way. I mean, well, the rubric, it said that in the rubric, so I figured if we're each doing the separate stage, then each one has to have a rubric article. And I don't think that's anything crazy. It can just be like a paragraph copied and pasted in quotation.
Like this is the rubric that I got right here, and so it says, where did it go? I missed it. Use of professional journal article. Like it doesn't say like use of 5 journal articles or like use of how many. It just says use journal article is what
Right.
it's rubric.
So how many do you think I should, put down just to be safe? Just 2 or 3?
What do we think? 'Cause I thought we had to do 1. Some people are saying 5. Well, like in the rubric, it doesn't say.
So how are we?
Number.
Basically, I feel
How
like
are we tying?
sorry.
How are we tying these in? Like the journals, because we've already kind of done our proposal.
So like after we're done like putting everything together on our shared outline, that's going to turn into what we're turning in. And like I tried to ask the professor this through email if we're just doing individual or one, and she told me to ask my classmates. And from like this whole journey, I think we're just doing one submission. And like I'm basing this off group projects that I've done in other classes where we turned in like one personal volunteer to turn it in for everybody. So that's what made me think that's what we're doing for this group project. And like I'll be the person that turns it in, and like I'll send you guys all the time. Like I'll blow you guys up. Like, yeah, I did it. And, like send you screenshots and stuff like that. But like that's what I think. One
Well,
person in.
We have 3 other group projects in 3 separate classes, and that's how like it's usually done as well. What you just stated, like one person turns in the whole thing is how it's been done with everything, and so far it's worked out pretty good that way.
Yeah, so we'll agree with that as person turning in one project.
Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
So then we got to agree on the academic journal.
So it's just saying academic journal, empirical evidence. So I was just assuming
Yeah,
2 or 3, just to make, because I'm basically just tying into what I said,
yeah. So you just find anything that backs up that like
Yeah.
students' life suck. Right? There's like literally like 10,000 articles that say that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I'll just do that.
And then you just like add in like the quote.
Okay. So,
Yeah, Shelby.
no, you're fine. So we're just the journal articles are just basically backing up why we chose this topic and where we're getting, our information basically.
Yeah, and if we put
Yeah.
closing too, it's not like it's gonna hurt. Like if we just like throw in more journal, it's not like it's gonna take away from anything. But
Right.
like as far as like a number, a specific number, I could not find that because I tried so hard to figure that one out.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as long as
I
we
think
back up
anywhere
our
between 3 and 5
evidence,
safe.
good.
Anything else? Anyone else have any questions?
I'll try to make this quick, and I know this is gonna sound really terrible, but I'm still confused, and I know that sounds nuts.
It's
but
fine. What were you
I
confused
still
on?
am. So, the role playing we're doing, is it gonna be 5 separate role plays, and each one's gonna be like storming, norming,
Yes.
and it's so it's
Yeah.
gonna be completely 5 different separate ones, and we're going to play out each one for the final project. So we're gonna play out 5 different skits.
Yes. And
Got
like
it.
for your like Molly and you are gonna run yours, and we're all gonna be your like high school students, is what we're
Got
gonna be playing.
All right. Well, I'll reach out to Molly. Nobody's heard from her, but we've heard from her, but she hasn't been in contact. I'm gonna reach out to her to see if I can get her to participate. Either way, whether she does or not, I'll have this handed in by the end of the day Friday.
Because she like helped with the proposal question, so she has been helping out with us.
I was told that she wasn't participating, but either way, it's all good.
All right. So before we like leave, we have to come up with a name. What are we gonna call the group?
All right, quick question. I don't mean to cut you off, just so I'm clear as well. We're doing 5 different skits like Ben stated, but like our group is only doing the one skit, correct? Or are we doing
Yes.
5 as a
So
group?
you're doing one, and, like so you're gonna be working on it with Shelby. You guys are doing 5 adjourning and dissent. So you guys are just doing that one skit. You and Shelby working together for that.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. So like I got my skit that I'm running myself. Molly and Ben got their storming skit. Kathy's doing her norming skit. Haley and Jose are doing their performing skit, and Shelby and Tyler are doing the adjourning one. And that's pretty much what I got like for like everyone, and everyone like is cool with the assignments. Like that's all good. Okay. Any other questions before we talk about the name?
Nope.
All right. What do you guys think about names? We gotta call it something. There's like Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, like they're like what are we gonna call our pandemic group for high schoolers?
Pandemic Anonymous.
Pandemic Anonymous.
You could do something simple. Just be like growth/well-being. I mean, that's kind of lame, actually. Sorry.
Like teens in the pandemic.
Oh yeah, it's about the pandemic.
COVID-19.
No. Like, I guess we can think on this. We can think on it.
Guys, it took me 8 months to pick a baby name, so don't look at me.
Hmm.
Does our title have to be like have to say something about the pandemic?
Doesn't. We can just like name it like whatever we wanted to, but like we just gotta call it something. We can't just call it group.
All right. So what about so the college Chesapeake. So I'll just call it Chesapeake Counseling.
Yay for teens.
That works. That works. That works.
I like that.
And so we're gonna call it Chesapeake Counseling as our name.
Hey guys, not to cut you off, I actually got to take my car into the shop to drop it off so it can get worked on tomorrow. Do you mind if I check out?
No, you're fine. We've already been here for an hour. You're good on everything. You have any other questions? You're good?
I'm good. Thank you guys so much for your time.
Okay.
Bye, Ben.
Take care. Thank you. Bye.
All right. So our group name is Chesapeake Counseling. And like, so that was like the 2 things I just wanted to talk about was like how many people in the group and then what our name was. Anybody else confused about anything?
No, but just to go over what we talked about earlier, because I don't know who joined late and everything. So Ben's doing grief. So I already kind of have an activity in my head about grief. But then Haley and her partner, they're doing school related, like a school related activity, correct? Okay, just so I can, you know what I mean, get started and have a good idea of like at least my topics that I have to go back over are. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Nope. All right. Well, so like we're all like comfortable like with where we're at now. Like everyone's got a better idea what's going on. Okay. So I'm gonna call it closed then if everyone's okay with that. And so like I did record this whole thing. And I'm gonna like try to put it on discussion later for the people who missed out, or if anybody wants to watch it again for whatever reason. And if for some reason I can't figure out how to post it, I'm gonna just let you guys know that either way. But good night.
All right, you guys have a wonderful.
See you guys.